People of Earth, Gig Ho!
Gig Ho! we play Gig Ho!
Hi, I'm Willa.
You sure are.
Who are you?
I'm Marla Joe.
And we are
the
Gig Hoes.
The giggling hoes.
You can tell we're a little bit tired today.
Well, it's only Tuesday and we haven't recuperated yet.
I know.
I know you're exhausted just from
Flying
another
in.
trip. Yeah.
Yeah, and I made the sin of hubris. My flight got delayed, and like an idiot, my friend and I decided that was a stable reality. And then when we got to the airport, it turned out it was an hour earlier.
I love the way they can just change their mind like that, and everyone's just jumping around, running to gate to gate.
And it's so funny because we're standing in line, and this woman, this good-looking woman, young woman, is like squeezing through the line going, my plane leaves in 20 minutes, let me through, right? And we're like looking at her like, what a bitch, right? And then I look at my phone, and all of a sudden it's an hour early, and I'm going, can we do the same thing? But we're not as young and pretty as she is.
Oh, come on. They let you go. Just tell them a
No,
joke.
they really didn't,
One time I got on a plane with my keyboard, and it was really pretty flat and small, and I put it in the overhead, and I just said to whoever was going to share with me, I says, I want to put my instrument on top. And, it's an instrument.
Like on top of the luggage.
Yeah, where, and there was room. And then there was this drunk girl that got on. She goes, oh, we have to be careful of her instrument.
That's pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Alcohol will do that to you.
So my husband said a funny thing. He said, why don't you guys talk about getting home from the gig?
Yeah. You have extra things to consider because you have a garage that closes at a certain time. Weren't you going to stay over at my house once?
Yeah, that's now, though. That's post-COVID. In the old days, it was open 24 hours.
Right.
But I do remember one particular thing. There was like a Twilight Zone episode. It was in Jersey, like exit 98 off the Garden State. It's called the Main Maid. No, the Main Maid Inn is... Oh, the Molly Pitcher Inn, that was it.
I've been there.
Okay.
That's where a friend of mine had a memorial.
So again, whole other world before GPSs, right? I got to get on the Garden State. An audience in the old days, we would write the directions. I would usually write the directions on the back of an envelope, like a Con Ed bill envelope, not to waste paper, right? And then you're trying to read it backwards from your starting point, and especially if you're dyslexic like me, trying to make all the right turns, left turns, and work your way backwards could be daunting. But I'm working my way backwards, and I get onto whatever the main drag is in that town that the place is in. It says Garden State Parkway, this way, right? So drive down the road. And then there's a sign, Garden State Parkway, make a left. I make the left. And then it goes Garden State Parkway, make a left. So make a left. Now I'm coming back down the road that I just went up. For a half hour, I went around and around and around and around.
I mean, GPS will do the same thing to you at times. No, it will.
Okay.
Come on. But when you don't even have that as a guide, you really begin to question yourself.
1 o'clock in the morning.
I want to go home.
It was foggy.
Help me.
I was tired.
Yeah, it's like a nightmare. You're already worked and you're trying to get home and you're in Jersey and you live in Queens.
Yeah, Jersey.
Deep, dark Jersey. That was Paul Hefner's line.
Oh, yeah?
Deep, dark Jersey this weekend.
Home of the jug handle turn. Oh, those things are so horrible.
I want to make a left, but I have to make a right.
And go around the back of the industrial park.
I had never heard of things like the Outer Bridge Crossing and the Goethals Bridge until I became a club date gig ho.
So did you ever run into a snag trying to get home from a gig?
Oh, yeah. I was in deep, dark Connecticut once. In the hills of Connecticut. I think it was like Kent or I don't know. It was like farmland. And this is my hurricane story, actually.
Oh, okay, good. Because we're gonna vamp into those stories too.
I remember that the actual person was supposed to do the gig couldn't get there because of the hurricane. I got there.
Wait, so you were a sub?
I was a sub, and it was okay. They knew.
Right.
But when I got there, they had a whole tent set up in front of their house, but then they couldn't use it because it got all Oh, that reminds me of another story.
Oh, good.
Similar.
Okay.
But the tent got all, messed up. It had like mud on the bottom, So like then all of a sudden the wedding became inside the house. So I'm set up in the hutch of somebody's dining room with my mixer. And it was like nothing. They really didn't need me there once they moved it in, but they didn't even decide to do that till after I got there.
So was it just you?
I was DJing it.
Oh. And was the storm raging outside?
It kind of like had sort of happened. It was still like lightly raining, but nobody wanted to be in the tents. Everybody was in this house. And I used the Yamaha mixer. You know how like the inputs have the metal sticking up?
Right.
And I was like, because I had to, now figure out how I'm going to do this indoors. And I cut my knuckle on one of them.
Yeah.
And they were very unsympathetic. They gave me a Band-Aid.
Did they give you a Band-Aid? Well,
yeah, but then it kept getting soaked with blood. It was one of those things that kept bleeding and dripping blood all over my mixer. I think it was Hurricane Irene or something. I don't know.
Sounds right.
And then at the end of the gig, getting back to the subject, they put me up somewhere in some farmhouse somewhere, but I couldn't find it. It was like two old ladies. It was sort of like a cool place, but very old-fashioned and barely running water,
God.
barely heat, barely
How far
anything.
was it from the place?
Well, it seemed far because maybe I got lost on the way to go there. I mean, when you're that far in the woods, the GPS doesn't even work. It keeps dropping out. And it was like I was going around in circles, just like you were describing.
And it's just so frustrating.
I was tired. I'm going to a strange house. I got to meet strange people. I'm showing up in the middle of the night. It's like an Airbnb. The same experience. Like you go in, you don't know who you're walking in somebody's house.
Right.
What is that?
That's from Deliverance.
Deliverance. That's what I just got it. Audience, she was tapping her nose. When she did that.
like that.
Just when you're tired and you want to go home so badly, and then you're lost.
Or it's the middle of the night and you hit stop dead traffic on the Jersey Turnpike.
I mean, every person probably in New York has experienced that.
Right. Well, yeah. But there's an added je ne sais quoi when you've already worked for 6 hours.
6 hours, right. It's even longer because you've set up for an hour, broke down. It's sometimes like 8 hours.
Yeah. It's great.
Without a meal.
Without a meal.
Well, the further you get away from the city, the more likely you are to get fed.
It's so true. Sad but true. So my hurricane story is, it was in the summer. It was a party in Vermont, in Stratton, one of those ski resorts. And we did a gig the night before. We did a rock gig. And you could feel it coming in. And this is the thing with any outdoor thing. There's so many variables. This particular night was the night some swarm of insects decided to wake up and live, right? And I have another story about that, too. But they were just all over. And 2 days later, I turned my keyboard over, and they all dead ones fell out. Yeah, right. But anyway, we get on the road. I'm in one car, and the three of them are in my brother's van. They take the inland road. They're taking the New York State Thruway. But from where I was coming up along the coast. And that's where an arm of the hurricane wrapped around. So I headed north, and then I was heading east. And I'm heading east on 684. Everyone else in the world is heading west, right? The sky looks like a science fiction movie. It's like green and gray and black.
It's frightening. It's really frightening.
And my only option was to keep driving, and then the rain started. So like somebody's pouring buckets of water on my car, and I'm freaking out, and I'm white, and then it lets up, and I go, oh, it let up. And then like 2 seconds later, again. And I got like 80 miles to go on this road before I can start heading north.
Oh, God.
And everyone's going the other way like rats deserting a sinking ship. And I start to hydroplane, because there's a lot of water on the road. Then I get to New Haven, and there's all this whole superhighway situation. Then I head north, and it's still doing it. So I get to Massachusetts, and I'm off the highway, and I'm going up some dirt road, like at a really steep angle. And I get a phone call. Some guy wants to know if I want to do a gig on Long Island like that night. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? There's a hurricane.
I'll be right there.
There's a hurricane in progress. So I get to the place, and it's just raining up there. But it turns out there's a separate building where we're going to play, and we were supposed to pull in on the ground level and bring our stuff upstairs in an elevator. But the ground level got
flooded?
like mudded in. Like this
my
whole
God.
bunch of mud ended up there. So then we had to carry all our gear up the front 2 flights. And then This was the hurricane that Vermont got flooded out. I don't know if you remember, but like nobody could get out of Vermont the next day. So the band leader, who we're going to call...
Yeah, who are you going to call?
Bruce Flounders, we're going to call... Bruce Flounders, okay.
Spruce Flounders.
Bruce Flounders, that's good. They paid for the room the night before.
Right.
But the night after, he goes, well, if you want to stay, you can rent a room.
Nice of him.
All the roads are flooded. It's pitch dark. You know.
It's not his problem.
And not his problem anymore. Gig's over.
Well, he'd lose all his income if he paid for rooms for everybody.
Right.
Right?
So we all had to pay for our own rooms. We get on the road, and, you know, all the local roads in Vermont where we are just completely flooded. And it was before GPSs, so I'm in one car and the boys are in the other one. We pull over. We call my husband, who's got the big command center in the house, and he's looking at all the maps because we did have cell phones. We just didn't have GPS yet. So he told us how to go. We went 100 miles out of our way to get home because the New York State Thruway was closed. So all the other people in the band that took the Thruway, it took them 12 hours to get home. Wow.
That's an incredible story. That reminds me of there was a gig that you were supposed to do for Slow Shafatsberg. Well, he did nothing wrong. It wasn't small. It's just fun to make up names.
And I do know which one you're going to tell, but go right ahead.
It was when de Blasio was still the mayor, and he couldn't decide whether to send the plows out that night or something.
Oh, is that what happened?
That's what happened. That's why it was so horrible. I mean, I was coming back from West Nyack, a 45-minute ride.
Right.
I get on the Deegan. It's like completely stopped. I mean,
Right.
I was on the Deegan for 4 hours, and then I had to pee.
That's what happens.
Well, I wrote a song about it after. It's called Major Deegan EXPEE. Which maybe I should have like as my credit of the week.
I think so. We absolutely.
But it was like really the story. But so I get off the highway thinking, oh, I'll just get back on. I had to wait another 4 hours on whatever highway. I took a different highway. It was the Henry Hudson or anyway. And then I ended up switching highways. It took me 12 hours.
Oh, my God. And did the GPS have any helpful information?
No, because what happened was, being that they didn't plow, all these trucks were like stopped on the Deegan.
Right.
And the ones that had to go around that could move in cars or trucks could only get off on, I think, on the Sheridan, where trucks are allowed.
Yeah.
So once you passed that place, it's like getting off and trying another highway. It all led to the same problem.
Right. Yeah.
And then once you passed that, cars moved fast. But when I was in the street, I was just so worried about getting stuck, like in the gas station, because if I stop, and then I was on Riverside Drive, it's narrow, and then there's cars, and then it's like on an incline. I was in my Prius at the time, which is terrible in the snow. It has no traction because it's like a golf cart. I mean, it is. They're great on gas. And I said, oh, my God, I'm going to slide into the parked cars and, just going real slow. And really, you're terrified the whole time. But anyway, I got home at 3:30 in the morning. This nice woman, Elizabeth Lehman, was on the phone with me, keeping me company. And then the song was about having to pee and what's a girl supposed to do? Pull down my pants or go in my shoe. That's one of the lines in the song.
Oh, that's great. Go in my shoe. Very nice.
But I was thinking I could have just wrapped myself with like a sheet because everyone was stopped.
You mean in pee inside
and just pee on the shoulder.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Because they do make things for women, but who would ever think you need it?
Rubber pants? Oh, you mean things you can pee in?
Yeah, because men, like
so
drunks,
they have like a funnel opening that you can.
I guess it's like the dental dam thing for oral sex. It's just not quite efficient as you want it to be. And then you drip a little, and then it's in your car, and then it's
I kind of have the same story. It was the first Friday of December. And the gig was a solo gig in a restaurant on 2nd Avenue and 50th in Manhattan. So it's 10 miles from my house, maybe 12, right? Took me 5.5 hours. And this is why. So it was a blizzard. And I'm driving down Queens Boulevard toward the 59th Street Bridge, which is clearly the way to go. Because, audience, if you don't come from New York, rule 1, avoid the Midtown Tunnel. In all cases. In all cases. 3 o'clock in the morning. Avoid the Midtown Tunnel.
There's a Seinfeld about, oh no, the Van Wyck, nobody ever beats the
Nobody
Van
ever
Wyck.
beats the Van. Well, nobody ever beats. Well, actually, I have beat the Midtown Tunnel occasionally, but I was blessed by God. But anyway, so I'm coming down Queens Boulevard, and I'm approaching the Midtown Tunnel, and I hear on the radio that they've closed the 59th Street Bridge because it's iced over.
Oh, God.
So now I have no choice but to go to the Midtown
And
Tunnel.
everyone else along with
Everyone
you.
else along with me. And coming the other way is this woman in a red Bronco, which is a very beefy, 4-wheel drive, but she has no idea how to drive it. And she's deciding she's going to turn around. And she gets herself sideways across the road, and nobody's moving because she's stuck sideways across the road. And I
Just to make it worse.
call my husband, and I am like, poor my husband, because I'm screaming every
They
obscenity.
can't help you,
No,
right?
but I just needed to vent. I'm
No, I
pounding
know,
on the
I know.
steering wheel. Motherfucker. Okay, well, finally, like 20 minutes it took her to figure her shit out, right?
At least she finally moved.
Then I go through the Midtown Tunnel. It took me 2.5 hours to go from 34th and 2nd to 50th and 1st. 34th and 1st to 50th. And each block took like 15 minutes. And I had the same problem. I had to pee so bad by then. And I had the same thought. I can just get out of the car because we're not moving for like 5-10
Wrap
minutes.
yourself in something.
Screw that. Just squat
you would
down
have just,
and piss.
hey, everybody, here's my ass. What do you think?
I was so desperate. And then finally, I got to 2nd Avenue and 49th Street, and there was a garage. So I parked my car in the garage. I put all my stuff in my hand truck, and I dragged my stuff down the street and across the street and up the street to get to the restaurant. I get to the restaurant. I'm 2 hours late already. Maybe there were half the people there that would have been there.
Because they couldn't get there.
Right.
Same
There's
reason.
a piano.
They
but
had
I-
a pee too.
Yeah, there's an acoustic piano, but I still had to bring my
Sure.
mic and all that. I'm setting up, and the president of the company comes up to me, and he says thusly, he goes, wow, you're really a trooper. Your boss should give you a tip for this.
Your boss.
Your
goes,
boss.
I'm not, because you were 2 hours late, even though it's not your fault.
It's not my problem. Your boss should give you a tip, though. Way to go, kid, And I just looked at him. I was so like,
With daggers.
seriously, dude?
With
seriously?
daggers.
Yeah, but
Whenever sometimes they thank you too much, that means
They're
I'm
not
not
gonna
getting a
tip you.
tip. They're
Yeah.
thanking me too much.
But the
true.
kicker is, a year later, I played the party again. And by this time, this guy had retired. He was no longer the president. And he gave me a $50 tip.
All right.
Because he probably realized what a dick he was being.
Good.
Yeah. So tell me about that CC thing you were talking
Oh, that.
What
Yeah.
is-
This is just like a side subject, but it's kind of a funny story.
It's a titillating phrase.
Well, we love the titillating, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
I once was hired through one of the offices to do an after party at a wedding. So they had the band at the wedding, and then they had an all-girl band for the last hour.
Oh, and you were part of that.
I was part of that, and they had us wear stockings, high heels, tails, and fishnets.
Right.
Were
Were you wearing hot pants or something?
No, leotard, stockings. It was really
Wow.
And one of the girls had never. I mean, none of us had ever
So
done
when you were
that.
wearing the tails, was that like up to the waist in the
Tails
front?
are behind you,
But
covering your
only
butt.
up to the waist in the front.
Right, and
so
then
your
the
whole
legs,
ding, wing,
and your
ding is
leotard,
showing, right?
and fishnets and
Oh,
high
my
heels. It's
God.
like very bunnyish,
Yeah.
And one girl didn't realize, she didn't think about it because they used to sell those nylons. I don't think anymore. They look like bicycle shorts.
Right.
So she's wearing like
Right.
these long stockings, for this outfit. It looks kind of funny.
Oh, God.
But basically out there with our crotches hanging
Yeah,
out.
pretty
and,
much.
And they didn't pay us anymore to do this. I mean, we had to dress a certain way. We had to be cute. And I went back into the band leader. I said, I want crotch compensation. I mean, if I'm going to do this, and luckily we didn't have to do it again. I guess it didn't take off. I don't
Good.
know. I mean, it was a
Wow.
good band. It was good
Was
people
that in
in
the
the band.
80s?
It was in the 80s.
Yeah, when you could get away with that. I don't think you could get away with that stuff now.
Oh, I don't know if somebody wanted it, I guess. But you would want to be like compensated
Right.
for
Yeah, crotch,
wearing
for,
that
for your
kind
crotch hanging out.
of, well, something, I don't want to feel like a hooker, but if you
But
pay
hey.
me, but if you pay me, I might want to.
Why? Because we're gig hosts.
Gig host.
See, people, that's what we're talking about. We had a double one day, and the first half of it was at Leonard's. Now, for those of you who don't live in New York, I just want to talk about catering halls.
With a name like Leonard's,
Yeah,
it's like Smucker's.
well, it's
Can't
like
be
the
good.
Huntington Clown House. You know, these big catering halls, mostly marble and glass, with like 5, 6, 7 rooms with parties going on in every room. And if you stand in the right place, you could hear all the music from all the parties at the same time.
Well, they have the room divider, right?
Yeah.
And there's a band on each side of
Right.
the wall. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just really nuts. So, but Leonard's is on Lakeville Road on a hill. And if you look out the main window of Leonard's, you could see this pretty steep hill. So the band is standing there on a break, and it's an ice storm. And the road is completely an ice slick. And we are standing there watching the cars just slide down the hill, slide into each other. Yeah, just like we're watching, because we have a gig in Brooklyn when this one is over.
So
right?
you'll be in it soon.
That's right.
It's like, oh no.
So my brother and I were driving together. We get on the road, and everyone's driving literally at 1 mile an hour. It took us 45 minutes to go a quarter of a mile. And then Larry turned to me, he said, you know, we'll get to the gig faster if we just take out our hand trucks and scoot to Brooklyn.
Yeah, like people can't cancel it because they paid for it. The food is made.
Yeah.
and
Same thing. We
show
got there.
must
There
go
was
on.
maybe 30% of the people showed up, but, you know, because the show must go on.
So I once booked a wedding in Connecticut. It was a 12-piece band, and I was really proud that I booked it and I put the band together. And then they had a terrible storm the night before, and they put the tent on the bottom of a hill, so all the water.
Brilliant,
You know,
brilliant idea.
so they were like mopping the dance floor all night long, you know, and it was chaos.
All night long.
It was just chaos, and nobody was happy about it.
So there's two kind of tent parties, audience. There's the kind where it's a venue and they have a field or an outdoor space and they put up a tent there. Or maybe it's an estate and they have a big tent there. And that's one kind of a tent. But then there's the other kind of tent party where it's somebody's house and they put up a tent.
And you can imagine.
Yeah, that tent is nowhere near as professional or sturdy.
Because they're just dealing with whatever land they
They
have.
have, which often is on a slope.
Or it's bumpy. I set up in geese shit a couple of weeks ago. I was playing a yacht club by the water, and I just cleaned my area, so I
Wow.
wasn't standing in it, and my stool wasn't going into
May I
it.
ask
You know,
how you cleaned your area?
I put a plastic glove on my hand.
Oh, like dog poo.
Yeah, because it was just like all over.
Yeah, well, there are certain places that the geese just have taken over, like Oheka Castle, right? There's just goose poo all over the field there. Anyway, back to my house party with the tent. So they had two tents. They had one tent down the hill, which was for the guests to eat. And then up the hill, we were on the back patio of the house, and that's where the dance floor was. And they had an awning over that. But there was about a 6-inch gap between the awning and the back of the house. And of course, that's where the electricity was, right? So we were plugged into this wall that had no awning over it. And also, it was 95 degrees, and also, it was 100% humidity. And all the guests are in formal wear, and they're all sweating their brains out. And Cy Hogan says to me, because this was the days when it was before DJs, so by then I was doing leads, but we all took the players we were handed. So the drummer, he says to me, be kind to the drummer. He just got out of the loony bin. And I'm thinking, oh, great.
Just keep time.
Yeah.
I want to kill myself.
No, it was the other way around. The guy was so gnarly and nasty. He was so mean.
Oh, he was like a dry drunk, full of himself.
Yeah. And I'm trying to be nice to him, and he's just being so mean and abusive. And oh, God, it was brutal. So, of course, it starts to rain.
Of course.
And it's raining right on where the plug is plugged into the wall. And
goody.
there's no sidewalls. It's just the awning. And so as soon as it started raining, I screamed, pull the plug, right? We pull the plug. And then I'm screaming literally, circle the wagons. And we took all the gear and we just shoved it into the middle of the dance floor. And even that, it was getting wet anyway. And all the guests are down the hill and the water levels are rising down there. It's just...
Yeah, sometimes people want to be paid back if it rains on their equipment. And I've lost a computer to lightning strike. I talked about that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the appropriate thing is, because is it an act of God? Is it the club's fault because they told you to play outside, or the client's fault? I don't know. I played 2 parties that were like weird weather-wise. I played one. It was on their front lawn.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't even in their backyard, and it was like in April. And I'm trying to play piano with gloves on, which is impossible. It's,
I know.
if you have a hangnail, it's an intrusion. But like a glove, even if you cut the tips off, it's still not good because you're still feeling that.
Oh, yeah,
thing.
I know it. I wore those Madonna gloves on more than one occasion.
Yeah, and another party we did when it was in the wintertime. They had like a Christmas party, and they did it outdoors in their
Brilliant
backyard.
Brilliant idea.
There's like snow along the edge of the tent, and they have a propane heater, but like no guests are out there because it's too
Right.
cold.
But often for me, the propane heater is for the guests, not for us.
This was for the tent, so it was for
the
anyone
whole
in the
tent.
tent.
Right.
But nobody was in the tent. It was
Right.
just us.
Sure. And then the corollary of that is in the summer at high noon, and it's blazing in the sun, and you're playing outside for the cocktail hour, but they're all inside in the air
conditioning.
Yeah,
Yes.
that happens too.
I don't remember it always being hot, but like I know, just as a side point, I have my air conditioner on all summer now in my bedroom. I mean, it's a climate issue. It's like I don't remember it being that way. And yeah, any tent gig, even if you have fans, you just never know. You're sweating. You're moving equipment, so you're sweating.
Yeah. So speaking of schwitzing on a gig, I can think of two schwitzing on a gigs.
Schwitzing and sweating and sweating and
schwitzing. One was at Belmont Park for the running of the Belmont Stakes. And, around
Oh, right. You do that all the time, right?
Well, I used to. He lost the gig.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He lost his license or something?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that's the one. So they have all these VIP tents around the actual track. But it was, again, another day when it was a zillion degrees, and they had one anemic air conditioner on the other side of the tent. So I'm such an idiot. After that time, when I did in subsequent years, he would give me a parking pass or park in the lot. But I didn't have one that year. And the option, a quarter of a mile away, there was a lot for the regular people. So I get to the clubhouse, and I have to stop there anyway to unload my gear into the tent. And this guard says to me, "Oh, yeah, you can park right here. You can park right here." Yeah. And then on my first break, someone comes in and he goes, "They're towing your car."
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and I had a gig that night. And at the end of the gig, I had to get some workman in his truck to drive me to the field they had towed my car to, which was like half a mile away.
So they just move it because it's in the way, you think, not because like they were trying to get money out of you.
No, not at all. No, it's just,
It's not like Manhattan.
It didn't belong there. Yeah,
Right.
I was on the grounds. Yeah.
Right.
But I still, and then he's driving me up and down these rows of cars trying to find my car because there was it took like 20 minutes to find my car. So that was great.
Oh, yeah. This is nothing worse than looking for your car and thinking someone stole it first.
That heart attack feeling, right? When you run out and it's not where you
It's not there.
left it.
Yeah. There's this place in Queens, Long Island City, where I did a wedding a couple of years ago. And they have a loading dock, but it's like the sidewalk and then the loading dock, which is high. And I backed my car up to it.
Uh-huh.
But I'm parked on the sidewalk. But
Right.
it's the loading dock.
Right.
But some guy knows every time somebody plays there, he gives them a ticket. I was so pissed. I went in to fight it.
Of course he did.
And at first, the judge remembers me. Oh, he used to play at Queensboro. I have to recuse myself. It's a fucking parking ticket. And then I got some other woman. Oh, no, you can't park on the side. I said, but I had all the pictures. It was a loading dock. I was loading. I was
Right.
only there for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
No, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Boy.
parking. Parking is one of the hardest things we do, even when it's not in Manhattan. But
Oh,
Manhattan,
but Manhattan is the worst. Oh, my God.
that place, Ophelia's, was on 34th and 3rd. So it's like a bus lane. You can't even stop for a second.
Oh, what about, I had a gig at this bakery/restaurant on Lafayette Street in the Village, and they had put in now, they have all those bike lanes all over the place.
Oh,
So
yeah.
You can't even
pull over.
You can't even double park in front of the place because now they got the bike lane there.
Sullivan Street is like that. I play at Housing Works. It's a cobblestone street, and there's only one single car can fit. There's no double parking.
Right.
And it's insane.
That is going to lead me into the big long story.
Okay.
So it's at a place called the Downtown Association. It's way down in the financial district, right? Which, audience, if you've never been to Manhattan, the financial district is like the first area that was settled in New York, and some of the streets are even still cobblestone, and they're very narrow and windy.
Yeah, and they don't make sense. They're not straight.
It's not a grid.
Yeah.
It's like a labyrinth. So, and it's February and it's freezing. And of course, I'm the first one to get there because I start 2 hours before the rest of the band, as usual. So the first thing I do is make a mistake and go over the Brooklyn Bridge, right? That's
shit.
the first thing I do. And
At least it was free, though, right?
Yeah. And I did have a cell phone, so I called my brother and said, don't do that. Because the exit was right
it's
before
right
the
there.
Brooklyn
It's
Bridge. Yeah.
very confusing.
So it's on William Street or one of those streets, but it's like that same thing. It's a one-way, one-lane cobblestone
It's insane.
street.
It's insane.
And so I find the building, which has like 15 marble stairs going up to it.
Of course.
Yeah. But I literally have to pull onto the sidewalk, or else if anyone comes up behind me, they're not going to be able to go.
Right.
Tiny little street. So I go in there. Beautiful in there, all marble and
So you're on the sidewalk. What
with
happens?
my blinkers on. Well, I go into the place. She goes, oh, you can't bring your stuff in this way. You got to go around the corner to the service center.
And who was supposed to tell you that, actually? Whose job was it? Do you
Well, it
remember?
would have been the leader. He didn't. So, all right.
He's supposed to know.
So I pull around to the street I'm supposed to load in.
Was
at.
the stuff out of your car?
No,
already?
no, it was
Oh,
still in my
that
car.
was good.
Yeah. Well, wait.
We've done that too.
Oh, yeah. That's terrible if you
Put
take
it
it out.
back in your car.
But that's kind of what happened here, because I get halfway up the street and I can't go any further because they're doing work. Con Ed is doing work, and they got it blocked off, right? So I leave my car with the blinkers on, and I walk up to the guy, and I find the entrance, which is, of course, what it is. It's concrete, and it's steel bars, and it's 3 concrete steps going down, and then you open the doors, and you're in this deserted area where there's a lot of garbage.
Garbage and chairs and tables.
And
maybe?
that's how you know.
This is where they want me to go.
Right. So what I had to do is I had to put all my stuff on the hand truck, drag it down the street, and then take it off the hand truck, bring it down the stairs,
Yes,
put it back on the hand truck.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, right. And hope my car it doesn't get ticketed while I'm doing that. And leave it in this deserted area where there's a lot of garbage but no people. So I do that. I park the car. I get back. And it was easy to park the car, at least. It's Financial District on a Saturday night in February. Okay. And by the time I get there, there's some guy in a green blazer with a little something on his pocket with a walkie-talkie. So at least that. And he goes, all right. And I was playing the ceremony, the cocktail hour, and the reception. And they're all on different floors. And all of them, I got to take the service elevator.
Of course.
So first stop, the main thing, second floor, just to put most of my gear there. And the elevator and the entrance to the elevator, like I said, there's tables and chairs and cartons in the elevator and in front of the elevator. You got to wade your way through that. You get on the elevator. Okay. So second stop, the ceremony, right? Third floor. All right. Get back, wade my way through all the garbage. Get there. I had a stand for my keyboard, my little keyboard, which is what I use for the front of the gigs. I had one of those tray stands that the waiters use. And it's like an X. It opens up to an X, right? But the screw had come loose so that it was open, but on this weird angle. So, like, in order to make it work, I had my knee up in the air here, holding it up so that it would be level. I wish you could see me, audience. I'm kind of doing a plie or something here. But anyway, and in comes the sax player. Oh, because he took the subway. He said, oh, your stand's broken. I'm like, gee, thanks.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. So I played this ceremony, and now I got to go down to the lower level because the cocktail hour is in the library. So I get in the elevator, and I go to that level, and the elevator doors open, and I'm staring at black and white linoleum. And the floor is black and white linoleum, and the walls are black and white linoleum, and I turn to the left, and I'm in the men's room. Luckily, there were no men in the men's room, but I'm still in the men's room. There could be men in the men's room soon, right?
They tend to show up.
I do. And I'm panicking, right? And I'm stabbing.
Get me out of here.
Yeah. So finally the elevator comes because it had left. But the florist is there, and the whole elevator's full of flats of flowers on the floor. And I'm like, get me out of here. He goes, well, I'll come back for you. I'm like, oh, God. So I'm just staring very studiously at the back wall and hoping. And I was lucky. It was the beginning of the night, so there were no men.
That reminds me when you sang about the men's room. That reminds me of the time that, I won't mention where, but I do a gig sometimes on New Year's Eve where they comp me a room because it's so incredibly hard to get in and out of the city.
Right.
But sometimes you get like a decent room, and at this time they didn't give me it was like an employee room or something. It only had like a toilet in it, no shower. So like they had like a mass shower room in the hallway.
Oh no!
That it had like a lock on the door that didn't lock.
Oh my
So
God!
and it's like I wake up in the morning.
It's just like prison showers, right?
Well, and it's like men and it's mostly men that are sleeping there. So I run in. I'll do it real fast if somebody walks in. I mean,
Wow.
there was a curtain,
Yeah.
but still,
I know.
you're getting naked in an open door room.
Yes,
it's like
sure. Well, that's like at the Y. They'll go.
it's like at the
You're
Y,
in, yeah,
right?
you're in the
But-
shower. Man coming through. Man coming through. We all run. Like cockroaches in the light.
right? But at least there's men and women locker rooms there. At
Right.
least, I didn't know who was there.
So back to the downtown association.
Oh, we're back. Yes.
Well, and I figured it's such an old building that in those days when they built it, women were probably never in the building.
Yeah. Good
Right.
point.
Men worked there, and so I get the flower guy to guide me through the through the men's room safely, and I get to the library. I set up there, but I still have the stand that's not working right. And by now, the rest of the band has come. And audience, it's a particular torture for me as a keyboard player because we're always playing the cocktail hour, and by now we're hungry. I'm hungry. I'm always hungry, but I'm hungry. I had to get ready for the gig and go to the gig, and I've already
It
been
makes
working.
sense. It's a lot of
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, I'm hungry. But I can't eat because I'm playing. But the rest of the band shows up, and they've set up upstairs, and they have plenty of time. So they're grazing in the cocktail hour. They're eating at
Like
the
cows.
They're grazing. And I just have to watch them grazing. And my brother, though, is good. He comes in and he...
Sticks a little plate down under your foot.
No, he pops like the pig in a blanket in my mouth while I'm playing.
Wow.
Because I can't... I'm playing.
I would never want to do that when I was playing.
I'm
'cause-
totally playing and I'm reading. But anyway, he comes in and he goes, "Oh, your stand is broken." And I'm like, "No shit."
Everybody informs you.
Yeah, thank you. He goes, "I can fix that, right?" And he goes to the bar and he gets some toothpicks. Right?
Yeah, that's helpful.
Now, you know me. I stand when I play. I don't sit. I stand when I'm standing and I'm playing. And he kneels down. He gets on his knees with toothpicks. And he's jamming them in the hole where the screw was.
I'm getting moist.
Well, but right at crotch level. He's kneeling in front of me.
So it looks like he's
Doing-
giving you head?
Well, it looks like he's sticking
fingering
something
you.
in it. Yeah, it looks like he's fingering me. Right? He's like, and all the people around me are laughing because it's pretty obvious what's happening. And I'm like, "Larry, get up! Larry, get up! Larry, get up!" And he's going, "What? What? What?" And he's still boing, 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 right?
Oh, Larry.
So finally I said, "Get up! Just hold my keyboard," right? So he literally, there was a big club chair next to me. So I'm playing Girl from Ipanema, literally. And I said, "Pick up the keyboard, move me over there," right? So I never stop playing. I'm playing and we're shifting. And I drop into the club chair and I stick it over the arms
Over
of the
the
club
arms.
chair.
That's your
and then I'm
stand, yeah.
Playing.
I played with my keyboard on my lap when they used to have the tiny keyboards. I have a photo of it, too.
The little Casio.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah, those
sitting
are
there,
great.
And I'm not smiling. I'm like I'm saying to the world, can you believe I'm doing this?
For a long time, I can't remember his last name, but this guy named Barry, that's how he played the gigs. He had two of those tiny Casios.
I know who
Audience,
that
they
is.
were like the length from your forearm
Did he
to your
live
fingers.
like in Pennsylvania? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who that is. That was when I first saw the Casio CS01.
Right.
The bass, which
Yeah.
is so great.
It's like maybe 2 feet long, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a stick of gum.
And honestly, the sounds are like ee.
It was very analog and shiny and square sounding.
Right. So whatever
Yeah.
you play, it still sounds like
It had breath controller too, remember?
Oh, yeah,
put
one
it-
did. Yeah, I
yeah.
never used it. But then I started using them for a while, and Cy Kogan hated them. He just hated it. And Larry's going, "But it's great, Cy." And he's going, Anyway, the final denouement, the final insult is, so I finish the cocktail hour, and I go upstairs on the regular elevator. I'm not going back into the men's room again.
Well, that's the good thing. Once you've already done the gig, what can they do to you? You're leaving.
No, I wasn't leaving. I was just going to do the reception. This is all.
Oh.
The
Yeah.
reception hadn't even started.
Right. I understand.
Yeah, I get to the main room, and as I walk in, I hear this. "The sun will come out tomorrow."
Who was that?
That was the 8-year-old niece of the bride.
That had
And
us sing?
Fall Tanders was the band leader for that one. I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
He's running her through it. And I'm just trying to get set up, bringing my gear up. I'm already exhausted from all this, right? He goes, "Oh, good, the keyboard player's here. You can rehearse." So I got to rehearse with this little girl who's tonally challenged,
Who
shall we
sucks.
say. Yeah, who sucks.
She sucks. And an 8-year-old woman.
And then the gig started.
And then there was whatever that entailed.
Yeah, and just to say, audience, that's the thing. By the time the main event occurs,
We moved our equipment 3 times.
we're exhausted often.
Well, I started seeing a chiropractor from the equipment going in the car because the equipment was heavier then, and we were moving it 3 times. I mean, my
Yeah.
Wurlitzer was like, I think I brought a Wurlitzer.
Oh, did you
on
have a
some
red
gigs.
Wurlitzer? The
I
red
had
ones?
a red Wurlitzer.
See, I would have loved that.
I wish I still had it.
Oh yeah, it's probably worth. I love red equipment. My amp is red.
Well, I had to go to a gig and when they had the tornadoes in New York, and the gig was near the airport, and I figured, I'll take Queens Boulevard, but
Oh,
Queens
no.
Boulevard was all backed up. And then you could go into the side streets, and on every street there was a tree down. Do you remember?
Oh, I
Like,
totally
it's like
remember that.
10 years
Was that
ago.
the microburst?
It was in the evening. I just remember, and it should have been like a 10-minute ride. It took 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do because all over Forest Hills they had
trees, yeah.
were. And when I went to
A lot of
Forest
old
Park,
trees in Queens.
in Forest Park, they had a pine grove.
Uh-huh.
I swear it was like the hand of God just came and like smushed them all over. There was a whole line of them just falling.
Wow, that must have been sad for you.
Oh, it was killing me.
This is just a side thing. Willa is a tree hugger in the best sense of
Oh,
the word.
thank you,
She
Marla.
respects trees
Thank you.
because trees keep us alive. And
Yes, we can't
Blah,
breathe
blah,
with.
blah.
We literally cannot breathe without them. All right, so I'll make this the last story, but this is back to the schwitzing.
schwitzing.
And sweating and schwitzing and smelling so bad.
I can't wait to get home.
Exactly. So we did this gig at a little joint called the Villa Bianca on Northern Boulevard and 160th Street.
I know exactly where that is.
Right.
I've never worked there though.
Yeah, I did. And the guy who was leading the band that day, who's the same guy that rolled over the flaming guest. Yeah. He brought mushrooms with him, and we all did mushrooms.
God, I could never do that on a gig.
No,
It would
that's
last
nice.
forever, the gig.
And the thing with mushrooms is what happens is they make you laugh uncontrollably, right? Laugh so much that you're like spitting up phlegm because it's doing something to your lungs. I don't know. We were young and idiotic. So we're doing the mushrooms. The gig is going on. It's August. And we're in a room with no windows, and the air conditioning goes out. And so everyone's sweating their brains out, including us. But we're just laughing, right? And the rest of the party is not laughing. We're laughing. And amazingly, we performed. But finally, when it was over and I got home, like I said, I turned the air conditioner on full blast. I ripped off all my clothes, and I just stood in front of it for like a half hour.
It's brutal out there. I mean, you're just dealing with everything, and you're there, and sometimes you're not even allowed in the house if you're like doing an outdoor party. You can't
Right.
use like the real bathroom.
Yeah, they have the porta potties.
Yeah, they have that little like trailer. Those are okay. you
Yeah,
know?
it's like the glam porta potty.
yeah,
Yeah, it has a mirror and a sink.
it's like an airplane toilet. You know,
But it's still-
where does it go? Who knows?
It still has, it still has the same stank though.
yeah, it's never good.
I think it was Dave Chappelle. He said, you know how they put these plug-in air fresheners in the bathroom? So then what do you got? You got
Flowers and poo.
lemon-scented ass. That's what
better.
it smells like.
That's better.
Oh, God. Okay. So what was that song you wrote? Because of the
Oh,
P.
it's called the Major Deegan EX Expressway PEE.
Do you have a recording of it?
Oh yeah,
Okay, can we make that our... Wait,
yeah, we could do that.
ready?
Yeah.
Let's see
yeah,
if we
let's
can do, it.
that.
Okay.
Credit of the week.
Ooh, harmony this
We're
time.
getting fancy.
Okay. So what do you have to say about it other than what you've already
Well,
said?
it was a terrifying experience being in the car that long. I mean, I'll just give you like a little snippet of the lyric. Yesterday I was in my car. I didn't think I was going far. Just driving home on the Major Deegan EXP. And then you'll have to
then-
listen to the rest.
Good. All right, we're going to put that up for you, and it'll be on SoundCloud like everything else.
Yeah, like everything else.
Yeah. So this week I'm playing a street fair.
I'm playing a wound care center tomorrow. Street fair, wound care. We don't care. We'll go anywhere.
That's
Just
right.
pay us.
That's fair.
I hope I don't have to sew anybody up.
Oh God. Well, I do dialysis. So. All right. Well,
This has been fun.
yeah, it has been. May your gigs be plentiful, Marla Joe.
I hope you always have your cell phone strong and GPS and whatever else you need. I hope there's a guy in the corner saying, make a left over there. Somebody to help you get out, you know.
All right. So until then, we are
The
gig
Gig
hosts.
Ho, ho, ho.
Yesterday I got in my car. I didn't think I was going far. Just driving home on the major digging EXP. I've been down that road before. How could I know what was in store? Just driving home on the major digging EXP. The snow was piling up, no plow in sight. I didn't think I'd ever make it home that night. Sitting in my car, going nowhere fast, wondering how long I could last. So what's a girl supposed to do? Nowhere to go, I was in a stew. Driving home on the major DXP.
The Gig Host podcast is produced and recorded by Marla Joe and Willa Basson, also known as The Gig Host. Thanks to Doodle for opening voiceover.